So recently Bosch introduced some new panoramic cameras, the 5100i series cameras. These things are pretty awesome. A lot of new features and functions and benefits that I think are going to be exciting to talk about.
Absolutely. The non-IR version, IR version, the features and the benefits they both have is going to be dependent upon the applications of the customers.
We've also made a couple of videos as well as testing to cover the features and benefits of these cameras.
We have the interior 6 and 12 megapixel model and the exterior 6 and 12 megapixel model. Both of these cameras have micro SD cards for onboard storage.
And that's a nice feature because of the newer high capacity cards that are now offered from various manufacturers. We can accept up to a 2 terabyte card, and if it is a industrial rated card, we can also do health monitoring on that card.
Both cameras have the micro output. And if you're in an application where you need a spot monitor, public view monitor, you don't have to now get a decoder or anything of that nature. You can take the cable right from the camera right to the monitor itself. So now you're saving on storage, bandwidth, and all those applications.
The next thing I think is probably one of the most important things is the stereographic lens. This lens is industry trending and does a lot of good things.
So a stereographic lens evenly distributes the pixels throughout the field of view. So no matter if you're looking at a object in the center of the view or in the edge of the view, it is still the same amount of pixels per square foot on that object. So the nice thing about this is no matter if you're edge dewarping or using the full panoramic, you're still getting a much higher resolution out of this image.
There's a very specific video that shows and covers this. I think it's a good idea that we'll put a link in the video to cover some of that. Absolutely. Because the Dory features and capabilities that go along with what you're showing is pretty impressive when it goes from there. One of the other neat things that's associated with this lens is the lens departure angle.
Yep. The departure angle on both of these units is 182 degrees, which, if you think of it, if it's mounted to the ceiling in a normal 360 degree, it's actually seeing straight across, actually up a little bit. So you're actually seeing part of the ceiling. So which makes this really important, where before you were a little bit cropped on some of the 360s and panoramics, you had to have them much higher. 14, 15 to 18 feet. These now, you can put them in an 8 to 10 foot ceiling height and still be able to capture down a hallway much easier. So very good, feature and benefit.
One other cool thing about the camera is 120 dB HDR capability on these models.
So that's really nice for use cases such as stairwells in one of the videos that we will be releasing, dark areas or bright lights. It makes the scene much more even, easier to be able to tell, detailed faces, who the person is, especially outside, in bright lights or very dark darks. It makes a scene much more easier to tell, what that object is. Lobbies,
stairwells, anything like that where there's lots of windows that create terrible lighting situations for cameras, traditional. One of you mentioned edge dewarping. That's another nice feature that the camera has.
So there's 5 dewarping modes that this camera is capable of. So the first one is the full circle. That's the native image coming off that camera. Some people call it a fisheye view, or maybe the panoramic. The other edge dewarping modes that are included when utilizing this camera is the double panoramic mode, the quad dewarp mode, the corridor mode, and the ePTZ mode.
The other thing, when you first take these cameras out of the box, you'll notice on the actual covers of them, there's these 3 little circles. Those are a part of the integrated microphone array.
Yeah, the microphones are there for future expansion, and again, it will be something where it's a firmware upgrade, but also a license will probably be required also for the audio analytics, and at that point.
So we should keep an eye out for that as a future function of the camera. Another really cool thing is the ease of installation of these two. We've played around with that a lot. we'll have some other videos that'll cover some of the mounting options and the other hardware things. But mounting hardware and mounting option is very simple with these.
Exactly.
And the other great thing about these cameras compared to previous models, you can actually rotate the lens. So
That's big.
you know, depending how it's mounted, where it's mounted, those lenses will actually rotate so that and they also have a leveler image on the lens so that you can make sure that the lens is level if you're mounting it in a 180-degree fashion.
Installers are going to love that feature.
Yes, they are.
One other nice feature that kind of both these cameras have is the CPP14 engine that's built into them from Bosch. That offers pretty awesome capabilities, added capabilities with the IVA.
Yep. So CPP14 has more processing, more engine, more horsepower. So it's able to do the video analytics much better. So, further distances, if it's an environment where the camera's shaking, it's going to be able to handle the analytics much better than previous.
Okay. So what I'd like to do next is probably, let's get this guy out of the picture. We want to cover some features that and some benefits that just the exterior version has, and we'll kind of go down through those because they are pretty important to what that camera's all about. Absolutely. So the first one is Bosch does a great job of testing both IK10 and IP66 simultaneously. Both of those are tested. So a lot of the other competitive cameras, you can get one or the other, but never both at the same time. So that's a big plus.
Yep. And some of the customers out there, I know they're IP66 and NEMA 4X. They're used in the same. On the data sheet, it actually states for both. So just in case if you see that, that means, again, for outdoor ratings, and also the IK10 is the vandal resistant.
Another cool feature is the actual operational rating of the camera. The cameras can operate in a minus 40 degree Fahrenheit to a plus 131 degree Fahrenheit. That's pretty wide operating temperature range, kind of cool. Next function or feature of this camera is that it has integrated IR. And that IR has a couple of different modes. Joe, why don't you cover that?
So there are 5 different zones within the IR fields, each with an adjustable intensity. It can be turned off, on, and then change the intensity based on the picture.
In some of our testing videos, we used this. We found that this was very, very helpful. You wouldn't really think of it as something that's important. And again, you'll see this in some of the testing videos, and we'll have a video that'll be dedicated to this. But the amount of capability that dimming or brightening one of those 5 areas can have in terms of keeping the image from getting washed out on certain things, shiny surfaces or whatever in the field of view, whether indoor or outdoor.
The other great thing about this, when you're adjusting the zones, it actually shows you the zones overlaid on the field of view, the actual field of view, so you know what zone you're changing, in real time.
In the image,
Yes.
right? So that's going to be a really big one that I think, again, Tom, you were mentioning something that technicians will like because it'll be super simple to operate and do that. And again, take a look at our other video that'll cover that. The other good thing about this IR is it will reach out to about 66 feet plus. And again, there's some videos that cover that and some ratings within the Dory chart that'll help with that. Another really nice feature, both for installers as well as customers who have sensitive applications, is the fact that this camera can accept multiple power sources simultaneously. So it'll take PoE, but then in addition to PoE, you can power it with either 12 volts DC or 24 volts AC, and what that'll do for you is give you kind of an automated backup within the camera. So you plug it in and you want to have that extra capability, you just give it one of those other sources, and when one drops, the other will take over.
Yeah, the nice thing there is retrofit market. If you're still an analog, or if you have an older IP camera and want to upgrade, and maybe your distance is greater than 328 feet, so now you can push that data with some converters by ComNet, but then also you can power these up then separately. So it gives you more flexibility.
Inputs and outputs. This exterior model actually incorporates some audio input and output and some contact closure input and output capability. That's a big plus.
Yep.
So you can unlock a gate or do something or have an extra microphone and a speaker to be able to speak with somebody out at a remote application and an exterior application. One of the other things that's kind of neat about the camera is this mounting plate. This mounting plate is a big plus, I think, because like a lot of the other mounting plates that we're starting to introduce, this actually has all of the capability to mount to just about any sort of electrical box that's out there, and it gives you a ton of flexibility. Take a look at the camera mounting plate guide that we put together a couple months ago. That'll be something we'll send a link to in this video as well. But I think that does a great job of covering the features and benefits that we've found with the camera. There's always the opportunity to find others as we keep exploring and playing and learning with the camera. But I think that does a pretty good job of covering both the interior 6 and 12 megapixel 5100 as well as the exterior 6 and 12 megapixel unit with IR.
So if you have any questions, support@midchest.com.